Welcome to the IWI interview series, where we explore recovery connections and conversations that help people build meaningful and lasting sobriety. IWI is a free mobile app designed to help people in recovery stay consistent, connected, and supported through their recovery journey. Today, we have a wonderful guest, Elisabeth, who is a great friend of mine from LA. So, Elisabeth, welcome to the interview series. If you could kick it off by just giving us a brief overview of who you are and what your connection to recovery is, that would be great.
Hi, thanks for having me. My name is Elizabeth. Okay, who am I? What is my connection to recovery? So, I originally got sober when I was 28 and I went to treatment. I went to sober living. That's when I moved to LA. I went through the sober apartments. I did the whole thing. I stayed sober for quite a bit of time, just over 2 years. And then I relapsed. I went back out. I wasn't out for that long. And then I came back into sobriety pretty quickly, stayed for not as long, 9 months, and then went back out again. I was out for quite a bit longer that time. And that is when I realized for myself that I needed to be sober. And it's when I hit the moment that using was worse than being sober. Because for a long time, being sober felt like a punishment. It felt like something I had to do because people were telling me to do it, or that like I knew I needed, but I really didn't want for myself. I noticed that my life got better because of it, but didn't seem to care at the time. And so I just reached this wall where being uncomfortable and staying sober and figuring it out was the easier, softer way than using, and that it was no longer a solution to drink and stuff like that. So I've been at it from coming up on 5 years since I first started getting sober, but I'm also coming up on 2 years of sobriety this time again. So yeah, I've been in and out of the rooms of AA. I've had multiple sponsors. I've sponsored people. This has really become a huge part of my life.
So the next question I have is, was there a specific moment that you can recall where you realized recovery was a lot better done with a community? Maybe a moment in time where you realized, I can't do this alone.
Definitely. So, the first time I relapsed, I did not tell anybody. I was out for such a short amount of time that in my mind, I would just come back and not say anything. And then I was like, okay, I'll say something when I have a little bit more time because it's kind of feels embarrassing and shameful, especially when a lot of people surrounding me are sober in my life. And my sponsor actually called me out. Somebody was asking me about sobriety, and I kept talking about how hard it was. And she kind of pulled me aside and said, "You don't sound like somebody who has over 2 years of sobriety." And I said, "You're right. I have like almost 30 days now. I relapsed." And I went to a meeting the next morning and I raised my hand as a newcomer. And there was just like so much love and so much support and so little judgment. And then I started telling my community, my friends, going to meetings, saying that I was a newcomer. And you're just offered a lot of support. Like everybody around you that has sobriety, if you're new, they want you to get what they have, like the ease, the freedom, the peace. And so everybody is there and they say take as much as you need, like take, and they give it away super freely. And then when you have something to give or you feel better, then you give away as freely as it was given to you. And so that first month of doing it alone and getting through the first almost 30 days sober is really, really hard. And it is a lot easier when you have community and when you have support. Even if you're brand new and you don't know anybody, you kind of immediately get community. And so the second time I relapsed and came back in, I told people pretty immediately. And it was a lot easier coming back that time just because I wasn't doing it by myself. And it's already hard to get sober as you just don't have to do it alone. There are so many people that have already done it before you that know exactly what it feels like. I've been around a lot of newcomers recently who are in their first 30, 60, 90 days. And I tell them, like, call me, lean on me, text me whenever you need. I know how hard it is. And everybody is like, oh, that's the worst time to be sober. It's like the hardest it's ever going to be. So, you know, it's easier to not do it by yourself.
So I can 100% relate to that. And you touched on something I want to lean into a little bit, and that's the truth that when you get into AA, it's a lot, but there are a lot of great people in the rooms that can make you feel like you are where you belong and can, give you their phone number and set you up with a routine and refer you to other meetings and other people. I'm curious because we before this interview we were talking a little bit about gratitude lists and kind of like what your routine looks like to stay connected with the people that you know at these meetings and want to keep a constant line of communication with throughout the week. If you could talk to me a little bit about what that's like and maybe what you like about it, what you maybe wish there was to add to that experience, being staying connected when the meeting ends.
Yeah. So I will say you do have, at least I feel like I have to be pretty proactive about reaching out to people. I do have friends that we're talking all the time, but to stay connected in the community, especially when you're new, you kind of have to be proactive about it, which can be awkward because it feels like you're harassing people you don't know yet, even though we're all happy to help. I do have a gratitude group chat with a couple of my friends from my first sobriety that we're still friends now, called the Gratitude Goons. And we try to write a gratitude list at least every day. Aim to write a gratitude list in the morning. I feel like it's a good way to start your day. And so when I started checking out IWI, I noticed that there was a gratitude portion, and it's something that very quickly brings some positivity into your day, and especially as like a way to either start it or end it. It puts you in a better mood. Um, yeah, I like that part of the app because it's something I was already trying to do in my own life with friends. And so now seeing it on the app is just another way to check in with gratitude. Even if I'm writing the same things in both places, I find that that is like a positive part of what I do on a daily basis in sobriety and to stay sober. And then I have a home group. Our home group has a group chat. My other meeting where I have a commitment that has a group chat, that's more of like a information drop group chat. I have a group chat with all of the women that I went to rehab with, called like the Warriors basically. And it's a great place to check in. If I'm not feeling good and I really need support from people who I know understand, I'll type something in there and I immediately have a ton of support. And same with everybody else. It is a bit overwhelming. It can be a lot of text with a good amount of girls. And so I do have that group chat muted. Don't tell anybody. So, like, I feel like in the app, that would be a great place for that group of girls to have a private group and to be able to put stuff in there as like a way to either check in, connect, whatever it may be, more like recovery specific. But yeah, I think those are great parts.
It's great. I really appreciate that insight. I've been checking in on Iwi for a while now, and
I see
that
it.
is one of my favorite parts of the app because it's something that, writing my gratitude list every night when I do my check in, it's something that's so simple, but, you know, has this way of just bringing me back to reality real quick because most of the time it's pretty simple things. It's like my family, my friends, the fact that I'm healthy and spent another day sober. Just the action of writing those things out every day helps me more than I realize. And it's a constant reminder that we really do have so much to be grateful for. I have had group chats in the past as well. When I was in sober living, I was in a group chat. When I left rehab, I was in a group chat. I would say 70 to 80% of the times those group chats fade out after a couple of months and you don't really hear from those people again. IWI is designed in a way that those group chats sort of never end because if you're supporting someone in there or if you're connected to someone on the app, you see that they check in every day. So without even actively reaching out to them, you're seeing on your phone, oh, so and so checked in like it's that reminder that other people are taking part in their sobriety, and I can see those group chats and those connections I have on iwi carrying on for the entire journey that I'm on with sobriety.
I think that could be good because there are people that I check in with, or I'll text them and ask how it's going. I know that they're coming back into the rooms or whatever it may be, and they don't respond, which is totally fine because I don't need a response. But if I could go on the app and be like, oh, okay, so and so checked in today and they're doing well, that would give me some peace of mind. I mean, I might be a little anxious for people, but yeah, it'd be a great way to be like, okay, I don't have to worry about her. She's good to go. She checked in.
Oh, that's great. I'm going to pivot here a little bit. I have a question for you regarding isolation, which I think is something I know for myself that I fall into all the time. Especially being in a new city right now, it's easy to not take advantage of the resources that are out there, meetings and different events and stuff, which I'm embracing and leaning into. But as I was saying, it's very easy to not do those things. And I know historically for me, just sort of throwing in the towel at the end of the day is something that has happened many times, and not going to that meeting. I'm curious for you, what are some ways that isolation can show up in recovery, and maybe even when someone has been sober for a while like yourself?
I definitely isolate when I don't feel good. If I'm feeling depressed or super anxious, sometimes it feels easier to be by myself because it's comfortable, and then I don't have to necessarily talk about my feelings, which still isn't easy, or let somebody know. And sometimes it just feels safe to be on your own.
Yeah.
I've definitely isolated a lot, and especially when I was not sober yet. I feel like I spent so much time alone. My life got super small. Now I feel like I'm pretty proactive about my recovery in general now because I've gone in and out so many times. I know what it feels like. I've isolated when I'm out, I've isolated coming back in. I try to have, as they say, smart feet. So when I want to isolate, I try to do a lot of opposite action and force myself out of the house. It's even some of these meetings I go to, they can be bigger. I try to mostly go to women's meetings, so it's like a bigger mixed meeting. I get a lot of anxiety. I don't want to go. And I kind of just, one foot in front of the other, make myself go do something that's not isolating. Even if I don't talk to anybody else at that meeting, at least I'm not alone and I'm listening to other people's stories that I can relate to. And I think it helps my mental health where I'm like, okay, I'm in a room surrounded by people that if I were to open my mouth and ask for help, that they would help me.
Yeah, isolation is, I know for me, a sign that things are not going very well, and I tend to hide it. I'll act like everything's okay on the surface, and then when I leave the meeting or when I go home for the day, it's straight to the racing thoughts in my head, and it only gets harder to reach out for help the longer I wait. I'm curious for you if that's been the case, if in periods of isolation, does it just continue to get harder to pick up that phone and reach out, or have you found ways to combat that?
It does. It gets harder. It's already hard for me. First, if like when I go to a meeting and I share, it's very easy to share how great my life is, how great sobriety is, how much better everything is, and things like that. Because it has made my life so much better. So I want to hype it up. I want the new person in the room to hear how great it is. And it's really hard for me to share when I'm struggling. And I tend to not do that. So I'm trying to be better about it. That's what that space is there for, to also share if you're not doing well. Like 2 weeks ago, I had some weird thoughts about not staying sober. even though they were very fleeting and I had a lot of anxiety of like, oh my God, how do I get forever right now? Which is not possible since, you have to take every day at a time. But the whole meeting was about opposite action or doing something that scares you. And so I raised my hand and I was like, okay, I'm going to share because I don't feel good right now. And my mind is being kind of weird. And then I got a lot of support after that because people related where they said, yeah, I've also had weird thoughts like that. And like, how do I do this forever? Things like that. When I'm not doing well, especially when I'm traveling or out of town, the phone feels so heavy. And I have some fear about calling my sponsor and telling her I'm not doing well. And I'll be in a very bad spot mentally, and I'll tell myself that I don't have anybody to call and that I can't call anybody, and how can I call somebody and tell them this and things like that, and it's almost like my mind goes blank. I have so many sober friends, and all of them are always like I come back and I tell them, and they're like, "Why didn't you call me?" And I'm like, "I didn't even remember that you existed," which is not good, but I'm so anxious that I can't really think straight. And I could go into my phone and I have like a little symbol that signifies who is sober in my contact list. And so there are probably hundreds of numbers in there by now that I could send them a text and be like, hi, this is Elizabeth, blah, blah, blah. Can I call you? And they would. And yeah, the phone is really heavy. And I do have some close friends that I text so often or talk to so often that that's easy, but sometimes you need different support. Like I know what they're going to tell me and know that they're always going to be there for me to stay sober, but the phone to my sponsor is truly, like you said, 1,000 pounds. Like I can't. It takes me a long time to call her, and like most of the time I call her, I'm in a not a great place where I'm probably like hiding in my room and isolating. So um, I do think that if you are checking in on an app like IWI and you have a bunch of friends on the app or a bunch of groups and stuff like that, that's like, or if you're in a bad spot and you're trying to, like, you're using your phone and you're trying to look for some solution or help to stay sober and you get on the app and you see all these people you're connected with, like, that would be a good reminder. Like, look at how many people you have that you can call. Like, I have friends on there that they're not the first person that pops into my head when I'm going through a hard time and need to pick up the phone. But if I looked and saw that, I'd be like, oh, this would actually be a great person to call right now.
Yeah. I like to think of IWI as like your recovery network in one place, right? And especially in the times where, it might be hard to pick up the phone or send the text. I might go to my text, like my messages app on my phone with the intent to do that and then get immediately distracted because I see, my mom, my brothers, friends that aren't related to recovery. And for some reason, it just throws me off. And I don't end up sending that text to the person I meant to, or I don't end up making the call. But if I'm on IWI, everyone's has the same goal as me, right? Like we're on this recovery journey together. There's no distractions. We know what's going on. We know we're here to support each other. And yeah, I really liked what you had to say about that. I have one final question, and it's one that curious to hear what you may have because in AA we hear a lot of slogans or different sayings. For me, the saying "my best thinking got me here" has stuck with me my entire journey because it reminds me that sometimes my best thinking is not going to get me to where I want to go, and I need to rely on input from people like a sponsor, people in my recovery community. Uh, Sometimes it's even just by watching an interview series like this or a podcast and hearing people tell their stories and what they do today to stay on the straight and narrow. So EWE stands for if you work it. I gave you my saying that my best thinking got me here is something that sticks with me. I'm curious for you if there is a saying like that that you carry with you today.
There are a few, and I feel like you're going to love this one, but I actually do love the phrase, it works if you work it, because that is the truth based on my experience. The first time I got sober, I did the work sort of, but it was very surface level. Second time, I really didn't do any of the work and went back out. And this time I came in and I'm doing the work. I'm really digging in. I'm being as honest as I can with myself and another person and a few other people, actually, mostly my sponsor. I mean, honest with everybody. But I've noticed that the more work I put into doing the steps and staying sober, meeting with my sponsor, meeting with my sponsees, going to meetings, it works. Like, every time I finish another step, I feel so much more freedom. Even if I'm halfway through step 5 right now, and the level of freedom I feel, and this is it's the first time I've genuinely done the work, and it's also the first time I have stayed sober in a way. Like, last time I was sober this long, I was already planning and plotting to go out. I wasn't planning on staying. This time I have no thoughts, really, no interest in going out. Like, I want to stay sober, and it's just shown. I don't know, the work allows you to have this life that everybody's talking about, like a life beyond your wildest dreams. And while my life is not that crazy, being peaceful, being content, being happy, no drama, no chaos, all this stuff, and just being able to be a functional, normal human being is a life beyond what my wildest dreams were before I got here. And that's all because of the work I'm putting in this time. And then I also always hold on to the phrase and always say it to everybody that connection is the opposite of addiction, because you can't stay sober alone. And the more connected you are, the more likely you are to stay sober. And it's been one of the biggest parts of my recovery. Like, the community that I've made and the friendships and the relationships really are a huge part of what keeps me here. Like, I love the life that I have because of it, and the friends and the things. And so it just makes it so much easier to stay sober when you're connected. And you reach out to one other sober person, you have a conversation with them, and you are at least sober for that hour, hopefully the rest of the day, and it works. So, yeah,
It works if you work it.
it
Love
works.
it.
It
Love it.
works. Work it.
Love it. Well, thank you, Elizabeth. Um, yeah, 100%. This has been great. I know you personally, so I see the work that you put into your recovery. It is real. It is inspiring. You know, you take it very seriously, and you have a great life. Like, I see it. Um,
I
and I love.
bully you.
What's that?
I said I bully you.
You do a little bit. Yeah, I'm inspired though by the work that you're doing, and I think that it's a blessing. You know, the majority of people in my life today are people that I've met on this journey in recovery. And at one point in time, I was turned off because I didn't want that. I wanted the recovery life, but I also wanted, you know, the other life too. That didn't involve people in recovery. And to be honest, like, I am really grateful that the majority of the people in my life are people in recovery, because, you know, those are the people I want to hang out with. Like, they get it. They, you know, hold me accountable. They're people that I feel inspired by, like yourself. So, you know, if I'm having a week where I don't feel great, I can, you know, lean into my friends, and into people who understand what that feeling's like, and how to get out of it. And I'm able to do the same for them when they're going through it as well. So it's a beautiful thing, that the community that you obtain when you join, whether it's AA, whether it's something else. I think recovery in general is it's special to be a
Yeah.
part.
I felt the same way. I didn't want my whole entire life to be sobriety and recovery. And you can, as people say, wear it like a loose cloak. It's a huge, huge part of my life. And I like it being that way. And, you've met some friends of mine that hold me very accountable to all of my thinking and pretty much everything that comes out of my mouth, which is great because it's helped me grow so much. I also know I can always count on those people, and that allows me to this weekend step away, like, not out of, but now I'm not surrounded by sober people and I get to show up as the best version of myself and easily stay sober in a weekend where I'm the only sober person around. And like, should anything like get weird in my head, they're only a text or a phone call away. And like, you've been there. The last time I was traveling, I was not feeling good, isolating, kind of depressed, pretty anxious. And you happened to text me about getting on a Zoom meeting. And then we ended up talking. And so felt a lot better after that.
Love it. Love to hear it. It's, yeah, what a blessing it is to have the friends we do. And, I think that's all I got for you. I appreciate you coming on. I think this has been a great conversation.